Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Introduce yourselves as you're joining. Leave your name and where you're tuning in from in the comments so I can see you and know where you are joining us from. Sorry, I really love this song. I didn't even realize I was singing along. It is I will let me see who sang this song. Introduce yourselves, ladies. If you're new, welcome. If this is a repeat appearance, thank you for joining again. Hi Jennifer, nice to have you join us. Hi Indigo, it's nice to see you too. It's always lovely to have you join. I really like this song. Okay ladies, let's get started. Welcome to another live session. My name is Tolu. I'm a Christian teacher and a relationship coach. I teach you how to love the godly way in your relationships. So, mini story time. You lovely ladies have been so thoughtful and I really do appreciate it with your message of congratulations, your support. I really am grateful. I'm beyond grateful actually. So as some of you know, I passed the New York bar exam as I shared earlier, and honestly it has been the highlight of my year. I remember reading, praying, trusting God that called me to it, and he showed up and he pulled and pushed me through it because there are certain areas in your life you just need a lot of faith, and this was one of them for me. I just want to use this as an opportunity to remind you that what God has for you is way better and so much bigger than what you have for yourself. It is beyond what your eyes have seen, ears have heard, or even your mind has conceived, as the word says, because it comes from God, and God has big plans for his children. I will share on this again sometime in the future, but I hope this has encouraged you. I just wanted to make this like a sort of encouragement to you lovely ladies to help you understand wherever God has placed you, wherever you are in this season in God's will, is exactly where you need to be. It's right where you need to be. If you are in the center of his will, then you are in the perfect position to experience his blessings. So let's get into what resource I have for you today. It's, of course, my Kingdom Courtship teaching, How Does Courtship Lead to Marriage? Now, this is a really packed teaching, and I'm not just saying that because I poured a lot of work, a lot of knowledge into this teaching to help you understand how courtship will lead you to marriage. It's 80 plus pages. I'm beyond excited for all the women that have gotten this book, and I shared a testimonial on here earlier today which really touched me. So this teaching covers what it means to court and not to date, what it means to have access to the promise of marriage God has for you, what it means to be positioned to be seen by the right man God has for you. It has 60 plus questions you should really ask yourself to be sure you're in the right relationship and to prepare you for the right relationship. 10 plus workbook questions, because you all know me at this stage. I love to make sure that you understand the content, and it will help you to grow in your understanding of being a godly woman. So I have 10 plus workbook questions in there to remind you of important points at the end of the teaching, to remind you of areas you should concentrate on in your understanding of relationships. I basically break it all down. I break it down in what it means to be positioned for the right man by becoming the right woman. It's a perfect teaching for you if you've constantly been in bad relationships and have no idea why. If you've been in situations where you've given your all and there's nothing that comes back to you in terms of love, care, or affection, you've been hopeful in love and gotten disappointed repeatedly, and you don't know what the next step to take is, let me help you by recommending this teaching. This book is one of the first areas God started to minister to me on to share with you, which is why it is called Kingdom Courtship, because there is a serious lack of understanding of what it means to court and to be courted. The information here will prepare you to understand this better and to apply it to your life. The link to purchase is in bio, is in my Instagram bio. It's literally the only link there. I posted an Insta story earlier describing how you go about purchasing it, or you can send me a DM with details if you would prefer to make a transfer if you're a resident in Nigeria right now, or you could send me a direct DM if you want me to give you a direct link. It closes tomorrow, that is Monday for those that are watching replay. It closes for purchase tomorrow, after which it won't be available for a minute. So if you're interested, I'd really hurry and get it. It's also easy to read. I send it straight to your email after you purchase, and you can read it anywhere, or you can print it out if you wish. So that's today's resource. Let's get into today's teaching. I can't keep a steady relationship. Well, firstly, the reason you can't keep a steady relationship, and I hope you have your pen and paper ready, because I'm going to break this down for you in a couple of points. The reason you can't keep a steady relationship is because you have the wrong idea of relationships. This is exactly why I create my resources to help you go deeper, because it's all well and good to tune into the videos, to watch out for the love tips, to watch out for my Instagram posts, but it's not going to be enough to help you understand personally what you need to do to move forward. So this is why How Does Courtship Lead to Marriage is such a key teaching, and I recommended everyone watching this video to get the book, because it deals with exactly this. You can't keep a steady relationship because you have the wrong idea of relationships, which is why this resource will be helpful to you. If you keep thinking relationships are all about the opposite sex, it's all about that guy, you're going to keep being hurt in your relationships. You can change that guy today, you can change him tomorrow. You're going to keep being hurt in your relationships. You need to understand relationships are partnerships. There should be equal amounts of effort from both sides, from him and from you. It shouldn't be one-ended, because I deal with a lot of emails and questions and DMs where a lot of you lovely ladies have put your all, and this guy is literally taking you for granted. There should be equal commitment, communication. There should be equal connection from both sides. There should be equal levels of sacrifice. It's not all about you giving up your time, you spending all that energy to go and see him, you calling all the time. It should be equal levels of sacrifice. So this automatically disqualifies relationships you have stayed in, where you are always texting, you're the one that is always chasing, even if he started chasing first and now you're chasing him. No, you're the one that's always giving. You're giving your time, energy. It doesn't have to be of monetary value. You are just giving. You are apologizing. That's an example of giving. You are giving yourself up in the sense of you're giving the fact that you are right up. You are giving it to him. You are always giving. You're the one that is always compromising. If you have an argument, you're the one that is always compromising. You're the one that is always willing to give up your side of the situation. He never does any of this. And women don't realize, the more you allow this to happen, the more you will find it happening in your love life. Whether or not you date A tomorrow and you start dating B, and next tomorrow you are dating D, you will see a pattern, which is why when I talk to a lot of you lovely ladies, and even on my counseling sessions, there is a pattern. And this is the reason why. Because you have the wrong idea of relationships. Dating permits this to happen, which is where Kingdom Courtship comes in. I've discovered that the best way to tackle this is to change your mindset. Dating permits this to happen. Dating says it's okay for you to constantly call. It's okay. That man will change. He will change tomorrow if he refuses to change today. He will change next year if he refuses to change tomorrow. And then it becomes 5 years, it becomes 10 years, and you become depressed. Dating says you should be happy you are at least in a relationship, unlike your sister that has been single. But courtship takes a lot of courage, which leads perfectly to my next point. I hope you guys are liking this. Just keep tapping the hearts. Oh, hi, Eniola. Keep tapping the hearts if you're enjoying this. You can't keep a steady relationship because you're too afraid to be positioned for one. I hope you caught that, because it is a juxtaposition. You can't keep a steady relationship because you're too afraid to be positioned for one. A steady relationship requires you to be steady first. If you are not steady, you won't be able to recognize a good thing even if it walks into your life, because you are too distracted. You won't be positioned for it. Think about it. If the car is moving really fast, I'm not going to notice every stop. But if it moves slow, I can. Same way with a relationship. If I'm unsteady, if I'm constantly confused, how am I going to notice a good thing when it comes by me? You won't notice it because you are not positioned for it. When you are in a relationship that isn't steady, there is a lot of confusion. There is a lot of miscommunication. There is a lot of confrontation. There is little to no clarity. There is little to no connection because your relationship isn't steady. That's why I gave that analogy I did earlier. But the truth is, ladies, if you don't take the time to understand who you are, where you are going, and what God has called you to accomplish, you will allow every single man that comes towards you that looks like the right man for you have a relationship with you. I hope you caught that. If he just happens to have a job that is similar to your own, if he just happens to go to the same church as you, if he just happens to come on recommendation by your parents or your pastor, if he just happens to have graduated from a good college, you'll be like, oh, he's qualified. And that's the problem. You are not positioned for the right relationship, and you will discover in those situations you still end up the same place you ended up when you dated a guy with less degrees, or with less job opportunities, or with less recommendation from your parents or your pastor, or that came from a different church or even a different denomination. And that's the problem. And then you will start to complain that the relationship started off steady but ended up in a lot of struggle, a lot of fights, a lot of arguments. And this is why. If you're enjoying this, keep tapping the hearts, because I want to make sure I carry you all along. Now, let's move on to the next point. The reason you don't have a steady relationship, is because you don't have the right screening in place. You do not have the right screening in place. Your screening, your security system is malfunctioning. It's all wrong. Your security sensors are not operating at the right level at all. You know, when you pass through security sometimes, when you're passing through a metal detector and they tell you take out your phones and any objects that have metal on them, like your watch or your phone or your laptop, and it has to pass through the screen. It's the same way. Imagine that metal detector is your security system for people that are coming in and trying to have a relationship with you. If it's malfunctioning, it's not going to notice the luggage that man is bringing. It's not going to be aware of the fact that man is actually a counterfeit. It's not going to be aware of the fact that man actually doesn't intend to marry you. He's just there to literally mess with you. That's because your screening is all wrong. Your sensors operate on a worldly level. That's where I'm going. Be prepared to have boundaries. If your sensors are operating on that level, on a worldly level, be prepared to have boundaries that allow you to settle. When you settle, you will settle for a man that doesn't love you, because that word settle can be taken to just mean, even though I know he's not good enough for me, I'm just going to settle with him. No, sometimes settling also means you are in a situation where you love that man deeply and he doesn't love you. Settling also means that man will abuse the love that you are giving him and the love God has allowed you to carry. That man if you're settling, cannot give you the love God desires for you. And sometimes people settle in their ignorance because they don't have the right screen in place. They think this is the perfect man and they think they are not settling, but in actual fact, they are settling. But because they haven't gone through these two previous points I've made, they have the wrong idea of relationships. They have no idea how to be positioned for the right relationships. They have no idea what a good relationship, what a sound relationship looks like. They don't know what it means to be in a functional partnership, and they don't know what it means to date the godly way, which is to court. They end up in wrong relationships, which is a lot of issues that a lot of you lovely women have on here, because I get a lot of emails and I get a lot of questions around this, which is why I'm having this session, which is why the Kingdom Courtship book is perfect to help you change your mindset so you begin to have the right idea of relationships, so you are positioned for the right one, so your security sensors are functional on a godly level, so you won't be in an unsteady relationship. Now let's move forward. You cannot have a steady relationship because you refuse to be single. Yes, I said it. You just refuse to be single. You are afraid of the idea of saying I'm single. There are some of you ladies that do not want to be single, and you don't even want to consider the option. And so you become a victim of dating. You become a victim of your fear of being alone. Your fear of being lonely. You become a victim of anxiety just because you cannot go more than a few weeks, months, or even years, however God wills it, for just being single. You can't do it. You must always be talking to a man. If you're not talking to him, you once in a while pop in and out of his life. Even the man you are not attracted to, you will literally find his number on your phone because you don't want to be alone. You don't want to live alone. And you'd rather be talking to someone that doesn't want to talk to you, even a man that has shunned you in the past, even a man that doesn't want anything to do with you, that has literally told you that he's not interested. You will still find your way to his door because you don't want to be alone. You don't want to live alone. As you know, I'm going to be honest with you, and you'd rather be talking to that man than be by yourself. Can you see how dysfunctional that is? And this causes you to enter. Because you are in a dysfunctional situation, you attract dysfunctional relationships. You attract unsteady relationships. Relationships where, let me break it down even further, you both break up today and get back together tomorrow. He did A, B, and C wrong, and you're ready to forgive him just because he happened to show up at your door. He doesn't even say sorry. He doesn't even show he's sorry. You're just ready to forgive him. And you do this for months and then years, and you think that's healthy. Some people say they've been in relationships for 5-10 years, but they've been breaking up every other month. That is not a healthy situation. You end up in relationships where the man asks you out today, and then asks for you to be his girlfriend today, and you say yes, and you think that's the path that will lead you to become a wife to the right man. I want you ladies to really catch this train of thought, because this is a problem, and these are all symptoms of dating. And like I said in my love tip yesterday, this will definitely lead you to a lot of detours that do not lead to marriage, and they definitely do not lead to the marriage God planned for you, even if you do end up marrying that guy, which is why some situations happen where women get married and then divorced. Sometimes women get married and then they're not happy. They feel trapped in a marriage where they should feel free in. Sometimes you won't even see the cracks that are so obvious in your relationship to that man until marriage, because you chose to be blind. You chose to be blind. Nobody blinded you. You yourself chose to be blind. And this leads to my next point. You don't have a steady relationship because you choose to be spiritually disabled. I hope you are catching this. And this is just a snippet of why your relationships are dysfunctional, why you can't be in a situation where you recognize the right man, because you are in a cycle of dating the wrong way. You're in a cycle where you don't understand what it means to court. And if you keep going round in that cycle and in that circle, you will keep meeting the same problems. It's a circle. You're going to keep meeting the same problems. Whether you go this way or you go that way, it's still the same circle. So you need to break out of that circle in your mind be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Transformation takes place here, which is why I have the Kingdom Courtship resource, which is why I strongly recommend a lot of ladies that are in this situation, that do not know what it means to court, that do not know what a good man looks like, a godly man looks like, because there's a difference, that do not know what their purpose is, to get this resource, because I give you questions you should really ask yourself, like I've done a few here. I give you scriptural references in a practical way that you can understand how they apply to your situation. I give you insight on what it means to court, what God intends for you maritally, what he intends for you professionally and purposefully. And I even list out questions the right man will ask and also the wrong man. This is why I recommend this resource. And this is going to go into what I'm saying about you not having steady relationships, which is because you choose to be spiritually disabled. You don't want to hear what God is telling you about yourself. It's not like you didn't hear what he said, you just don't want to listen. You don't want to hear God calling you to himself, so you drown out his voice, you drown out that tug to read the Bible, you drown out that tug to go and listen, go and watch that particular biblical teaching. You drown out that instinct that you suddenly have, that God places in your heart, to go and read that scripture, to go and listen to this pastor's teaching, to go and listen to that worship music. You choose to ignore it. That's how you drown out his voice, with that man's words, with sex, with spending time texting and laughing with that man, even though you know there is still an emptiness. You know that emptiness, you are well aware that emptiness is there in your spirit, and you know only God can feel it, but you are not willing to listen. So you choose to be spiritually disabled. You choose to be blind. You don't realize you cannot access a steady relationship without God's presence in the relationship. And you first have to be a carrier of his presence to be connected to a man that values his presence in your life. Can you see the link? This is courtship. And it starts with you, but you don't want to take that step, and you end up unhappy. You end up in a repetitive cycle of dating, and you wonder, is something wrong with me? I can't seem to be in a good relationship. Is something missing? Am I not offering enough? Am I not giving enough? I thought this was the right guy. I thought he was serious when he said he wanted to take me seriously. That is how this all starts. Where you always have a boyfriend, you are always a girlfriend. In fact, you don't have a problem being a girlfriend. Your problem is being a fiancé. You always have a man around you that you don't love, or that doesn't even love you, which is worse. You always have a man that doesn't want you or need you, but you want and need him, and you start to cry when it goes wrong. You start to complain when he doesn't love you, and it's really all because you refuse to listen to what God is saying to you. Listen, when God tells you, go and read that scripture, go and listen to that teacher, go and spend more time with me, it's for your own good. It's for your own benefit. It will help you to heal. It will help you to grow. It will help you to understand. It will help you to be spiritually alert. There are certain things, and this is why courtship is so powerful. There are certain things you see when you're positioned to court that people that are dating won't see for another maybe 5-10 years, because you have the Spirit of God leading you. He might show you, listen to what that man just said, listen to how he reacted, look at what times he calls you, look at how he carries the conversation. Somebody with dating doesn't have that level of discernment. They think it's a good thing he's calling me at 1 a.m. Oh, he must be thinking about me. They think it's a good thing that he just shows up with they think it's a good thing that he wants to whisk you away on a weekend trip and spend nights with you because he must find me so attractive. For courtship, that is a signal, that is a sign. This man doesn't have control over his body. He doesn't have control over his emotions. He thinks carnally of me. He doesn't see me for who I am. So many things courtship shows you that dating doesn't show you on time. And this is why I strongly recommend the Kingdom Courtship teaching. How does courtship lead to marriage? Because I break this all down there for you to understand. Because women do this, and a lot of Christian women do this, and they don't even know that they are doing it wrong. They don't know that they're in that situation. They think they have the right blinkers on. They think they have the right discernment. But it's all arranged the wrong way. Okay? So you don't have a steady relationship because you refuse, and this leads to what we've just been talking about. You refuse to be courted. and you always choose to be dated. You choose dating because you don't know how to court. And let me tell you, not every man that says, I want you to be my wife, is your husband. Okay, that is still dating. Okay, you need to have a relationship with God. You need to have a high level of spiritual discernment. You need to have enough purpose that God has released to you, that you need to literally be walking with God so you can see clearly, so you will know whether that's just that man talking or if it's God talking through him and what God is saying to you. So you need to understand that if you keep choosing dating because you don't know how to court, you will always choose dating. So you think just because he goes to church, let me give an example because I love doing this, or even he has a relationship with God, that man could be a man of God. It doesn't necessarily mean he's the right man for you. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying this. If you want more, you all should really get that book. Or even he has a relationship with God, you think he must be courting you. Oh, he goes to church, he serves on the worship band, he ministers, he speaks in tongues. Oh, he's taking me out, so he must want to court me. No. Okay, it's just not true. I'm not saying you won't, I'm not saying that is not how the right man approaches you, but I'm saying a lot of wrong men approach you in that way. So you need to know the right one when he comes. You think by virtue of the fact that he is a man that has a relationship with God, which is obviously a key ingredient, in other words, it cannot be removed. It's an important element in the man that you are dating. You think by virtue of the fact that he's a man that has a relationship with God, oh, it's 5,000 naira. Someone is asking how much is a Kingdom Courtship book. It's 5,000 naira. So you think because he has a relationship with God, it's safe not to ask him certain questions, and that's how you end up with situations where the woman dated, a minister leader, or she went out with a guy that happens to be the pastor's son, or a man that leads worship or head of youth ministry. And then she may or may not have compromised her standards. She sleeps with him because she just completely relaxes her boundaries. She thinks, oh, he'll be amazing. He's not going to compromise me. He will protect my purity. He goes to church. He sings in church. He must be perfect. No, that is still dating. And that is why you end up in the same cycle. You need to be alert and of sober mind. As the word says, you need to understand what it means to be courted the right way. Just because he says, oh, I intend to court you, so that's not enough. You need to know what it means to be courted. You need to know what it means to be approached the right way by the man by the right man, so that and what it means to be the right woman for that man, because it may be a situation where he is the right man, but he's not the right man for you. That's why I say it's really important to know your purpose, and why I've listed all the points I have before. And this is what this resource is, a foundational description of. It explains what it means to be in courtship, in the will of God for you, in the manner he has prepared you for marriage, and he has prepared the man for marriage. I literally go deeper and I break it down. As you all know, through my teachings, I break it down. I break down scripture and I break it down so you can understand how it speaks to you. So you need to be alert and of sober mind, as the word says. You need to understand what it means to be courted the right way, what it means to be approached in the right manner. Like I said earlier this week, just because he's a leader in the church or he has so many degrees doesn't mean you can talk to me anyhow. You need to understand your value, what it means to not compromise your standards for anyone, not just any man, but for anyone. And until you do this, you will keep choosing what you think is a reflection of God's best. And that is literally the definition of a counterfeit. So you pick men from the church and you're disappointed when they treat you just as badly or even worse than men outside the body of Christ, because you don't know what it means to be courted and not dated. And you don't have a steady relationship because you don't know your value. You don't know your worth. You don't know what it means to be a godly woman. You don't know what it means to be a woman that is approached properly. You don't know what it means to be a woman that is comfortable in her singleness. You don't know what it means to be a woman that is waiting, which is why I started the In the Wait series. Literally all the resources I have here is to help you become the woman God has called you to be. That is what I do through my resources. That's why I have the In the Wait series, because in the way will teach you what that value you have in this season, what you're meant to be doing, because there's this misconception that while you're waiting, you just wait. No, God has given you a purpose for this season, and this ties into courtship, because if you don't know your value, you won't know what it means to be courted. You won't know what it means to be courted because you don't know your value. So you don't even know the right way the man is supposed to approach you. You don't know the right questions to ask. You don't know what you should look out for because you don't know your value. You don't know how it speaks in courtship. And also, you don't have a steady relationship because you don't know the purpose to which God has called you. That's a question I can't answer, but in my book, I provide guidance on the right questions you should ask to give you an answer as you seek God. I literally give you, I think, in fact, there are over 60 questions you need to ask yourself. I also give you questions on purpose. I give you questions to help you start to reflect on how to imbibe a wifely spirit and not the girlfriend spirit. I talk a lot about the girlfriend spirit, which is the spirit of girlfriend, which is how you always attract boyfriends but not husbands in the book. I explain that in the book because a lot of women are in that situation. I provide guidance on the right questions you should ask to give you an answer as you seek God's face, because I can't do it for you, but I can help you to understand what you need to do to get there. And until you begin to become aware of your purpose, you won't be alert to what it means to be with a man God has for you. And so you will keep walking in unsteady relationships. You will keep attracting men that just want to mess with you and not marry you. And you think, oh, but he said he was going to marry me. I met his parents. He met my parents. We were always talking about how many kids and so on and so forth. No. And finally, you are not in a steady relationship because you don't know what it means to listen to your spirit, which is why, once more, the Kingdom Courtship. Honestly, ladies, I strongly recommend this teaching because I get so many questions on this particular issue in one form or another. He took me for granted. He just dumped me. He doesn't want to be serious with me. He says we should wait, and then he's starting to misbehave. He doesn't want to take us to the next level. After I've given him so much of myself, he doesn't appreciate me. This is all a mindset problem. And that's why the Kingdom Courtship teaching is so valuable and important to you. And that's why I spent so much time pouring into it. That's why it's 80 plus pages. That's why it's 60 plus questions to ask yourself. That's why I have workbook questions, because I want you to catch this so you can get out of that cycle. You are not in a steady relationship because you don't know what it means to listen to your spirit and not your body. Your body is so connected to what other people think. Oh, I don't want to be single. They will think I'm not good enough to be in a relationship. Everybody around me is getting married. Maybe I should just settle with this guy, even though he doesn't answer my calls, even though he cheats on me, even though he disrespects me. At least I can call him my husband. I don't know how long God intends for me to be single. I don't want to be single for that long. Let me just get married now and get it over with. At least I'll be somebody's wife. And that is all a problem. How long will you'll be thinking, oh, how long will I be single for? Oh, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. You don't know what it means to be sexually pure. And purity is different from virginity, but that's another teaching. What it means to choose God, that it leads you to unsteady choices in men and even in marriage. You don't know what it means to be a temple of His Spirit. You don't know what it means to listen to His Spirit. And so you choose what you do understand. You do understand that this man is here now, so he must be the one. You do understand that this man goes to church, so he must be the one. You do understand that the pastor recommends this man, so he must be the one. And it could be so far away from the truth that it really makes me worried for that kind of situation if you are in it, because you need to have discernment. You need to know what it means to listen to your spirit. You need to be so connected to your relationship with God, where if there is no peace within you because you have built that connection, you will not move forward, because you have chosen to be courted and to be courted the right way. Because you could even be courted and it doesn't end up in marriage, and I discussed that in the book. There's so much I pour into this book. And yes, I see another question. You can get this book by clicking the link in bio on my Insta page. And then the first link that you are shown, which is how does courtship lead to marriage, and you can purchase this book. Or you can send me a DM and I will send you a direct link to purchase the book. Or you can do a transfer, send me a DM and I'll send you my transfer details. So you don't know what it means. You don't know what it means to be any of these things, to be his a carrier of his spirit. And so you choose what you do understand. And that is so dangerous. I hope I've broken it down enough. And like I said, all my teachings are broken down because I want you to get this. So you choose what you do understand instead of trusting God and his process for you to reach the promise. And you don't understand, you can't get to the promise without going through the process. You can't get to God's best without becoming the woman that is best for the man God has for you. It's not all about the man, it's also about you, which is something that I think I started this teaching with. Okay, you need to understand what the right mindset is towards relationships, how to be positioned for the right one. And in being positioned, you become the right woman. And you need to understand what it means to have the right screening in place so that your metal detectors aren't malfunctioning and you keep settling for men you don't even know you're settling for because you don't have more understanding. The word says, my people perish from lack of knowledge. You cannot have a steady relationship because you refuse to be single. You don't know what it means to wait. You don't know what it means to be, to be in relationship with God. You are spiritually disabled. You choose not to have a relationship with him by choosing, okay, I'll read my Bible tomorrow. Oh, I'll listen to that worship music after I watch this show. And then you're sleepy and then you go to bed. And then you wake up and you're like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. You don't have a steady relationship because you refuse to be courted, because you don't know what it means to court, because you're too afraid to be courted, because you don't know how courtship looks like. And so you, by default, always choose dating. And dating cannot give you what God has promised you, except it is godly dating, which is basically courtship. And finally, you don't have a steady relationship because you don't know the purpose to which God has called you, which is why I also put in a set of purpose questions in the book, because I know you have to become the right woman to be positioned for the right person. Okay, and you're not in a steady relationship because you don't know what it means to listen to your spirit. You think, oh, he goes to church, praise the Lord, he speaks in tongues, he's the right man. He's a liar. You don't know, because you don't know how to listen to your spirit. You don't have discernment. Your discernment is off. So these are just a few reasons. These are literally just a few reasons. That's why when I say that teaching is 80 plus pages, I hope you now understand why. Okay, so I have a question. I'm going to take one more question after this. And once more, ladies, if you want, this book is gone tomorrow. That is Monday. For those watching on replay, on Monday I am taking it off. So if you want to get it before Monday. It is less than, at this stage, it is about it's less than 48 hours at this stage before you can purchase this book and get it. And I shared a testimonial, and I'm so grateful for that lovely lady that sent that in. And I want you to understand that this is a book that will help you understand. You hear courtship, but what does it mean? How can I be courted? What does it mean to be in a relationship with? How does it look like? How does it look like to be with the right man? How does it feel like to be loved the right way? How do I become the right woman? There's a lot of questions that are answered in this book as a starting point for you to have the right relationship that God has intended for you. So I have a question here. How will the man know this to ensure a good marriage? My dear sister, firstly, you are a woman of God. And because you're a woman of God, because God pours into you daily, because God ministers to you daily, because we become more like him and less like ourselves, because you are taken from a man, he will also know. The word says that Eve was taken out of Adam. The word says that God formed Adam. The word says that the children of God are led by his spirit. So I wouldn't spend time worrying about how the right man will know. I would spend time worrying about I would even spend time worrying, because the word says, be anxious about nothing, but present all your requests to God, pray without ceasing. I would spend time building to become the right woman when the right man comes, because he is coming. The question I will be asking myself is, how do I become the right woman? How do I grow daily? And this is what I'm here to help you do, so that you have the foundational roots to establish the marriage God has for you. Not only a good marriage, but literally the best marital plan God has for you. And that doesn't mean the marriage will be perfect, but it means the marriage will be in God's perfect will for you, which means that God will always be present in and surrounding that relationship, surrounding your husband, surrounding yourself, because you are in the center of his will. So okay, so I'm not taking any more questions. I have 2 more here and then I'm done. I keep falling for the man that I picked, not who God picked. So I finally know to wait for God. Amen. And I would recommend the In the Wait series to teach you how to wait the right way. I talk about that a lot, but today I want to talk about courtship. The last straw is the guy said he has some things going on, so we can't go out. Thank you for sharing, sis. This is why I recommend this book, because all of this is a mindset issue. If you are learning to court, if you are learning to court, that's actually the right word. If you are learning to court the right way, if you are learning what it means to become the right woman, you will see the signals before this man speaks. You will know. You will know, because you are so sensitive to God's spirit. You are so in tune with what he is telling you. You are so in tune with the woman you are becoming and the man God is preparing you for, that you will recognize when it's the wrong man. In fact, it will reach a stage where you yourself won't be able to step outside God's will for you, because you are so connected to his purpose. The word says in Amos 3:3 that can 2 walk together if they are not in agreement. So while you're waiting, what can you do to keep yourself busy? I don't think it helps to keep dwelling on finding a husband. No, you're right, Indigo. Definitely don't do that. Don't do that. That's not what you're meant to be doing while waiting. You're meant to be growing in your purpose. You're meant to be serving as God leads you. You're meant to be becoming more of the woman God has called you to be. You're meant to be serving whether God has placed you in the church, in your academics, growing your professional career. You're meant to be growing closer to your family, to your friends, picking the right friends, getting a closer circle, a smaller circle of quality over quantity. You're meant to be growing in your spiritual discernment, in your gifts, so many things, which is why I have the In the Wait series. But that's not the resource we're talking about today. We're talking about courtship, so that you will recognize when the right man comes to you. So someone said, okay said, there is no perfect. I was talking to a friend. He said, I am not taking any more questions, by the way, but I can't take comments. I have to go, guys. You guys are keeping me. I was discussing with a friend. He said there is no perfect guy. I should stop being uptight. What would you reply? Okay, firstly, I would tell him, you may believe that there are no perfect guys, but I know there is a perfect man. There's a man in God's perfect will for me. And secondly, God is going to tell him about me and me about him. You are not going to be involved in that exchange, so it's actually not your business, and you are clearly not the perfect man for me. So you are not a part of that conversation. So you also need to understand, ladies, because you are the light of the world, because you are so different. The word says we are in the world but not of the world. You will be strange. The word says in First Peter 2:9, you are God's special possession. You are a royal priesthood. So you need to understand, because you're special, whatever is special is different, it's unique. You will have people that come at you saying, I don't know what you're waiting for. I don't know who is going to court you. And then when you get married, all those people are quiet. because when God gives you his perfect gift for you, when God says a word, the word says, my word does not return to me void. I know the word says in Jeremiah 29:11, I have a hope and a future for you. That is God's promise to you. So it's not God's promise to your friend. It's not God's promise to your sister or your co-worker. It's his promise to you, his daughter. He's talking to his daughter. So because if my mom promises me something, if she says she's going to do something for me, it's my mom. I know she will do it. I don't need to query her today, tomorrow, next tomorrow. Are you going to do it now? When are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? I know she will do it. And that is what I talk about, having trust in God. Literally, the word says in Proverbs 3:5, trust in the Lord and lean not on your own understanding, because your understanding cannot fathom it. Ask your friend, he can't understand it. So guys, I'm going to go now. Once more, the Kingdom Courtship class, How Does Courtship Lead to Marriage, closes tomorrow. For those on replay, if it's Monday, it's going to go soon, if it's not already gone. It's 5,000 naira. Send me a DM for transfer details, or send me a DM for a direct link, or simply click the link in bio to purchase, and you will get your copy today. and it's 80 plus pages. Ask yourself questions. If this teaching has blessed you, then I strongly recommend that teaching, because it's going to help you and it's going to be a permanent guide to show you questions you can go back on as you grow, and questions you can start on that you haven't even thought about. Until next time, ladies, I will talk to you again soon. Bye.